it's really time to cling to yourself and time to start trusting ourselves. And I know that they make that so difficult, but if you don't do that, you're done. They are counting on you listening to everybody and being the victim of whatever the last person tells you. It's twisted, huh? Because then you apply that to what I say. No. Your gut. Go with your gut. Sometimes, when it's really important, it turns out that those feelings aren't a myth. Everything you suspected has turned out to be true. So, as you can tell, I'm in a hell of a mood. Have you guys been watching the Olympics? Ugh, puke. Okay, did you see the closing ceremony where Brazil hands off the torch to Tokyo? I just thought that that was really appropriate and very symbolic. Now, okay, so I went to the corner store yesterday, okay? And the dude that helped me at the register had a t-shirt on. It was the Twin Towers with a devil hexagram covering the towers. It had a bunch of other symbolism crap on it. And I don't know, they're all proud of it and stuff. They're proud of the babies and children that they murdered in the Oklahoma City bombing as well. They like seeing this footage, like a serial killer likes to make tapes and take trophies so they can relive it. Now, I have some quotes here for you guys. Okay, David Spangler of the United Nations. Lucifer comes to give us to the final gift of wholeness. If we accept it, then he is free and we are free. This is Lucifer's initiation. It is one that many people now and in days ahead will be facing, for it is an initiation into the world. Yeah. Another quote, the world population needs to be decreased by 50%. Henry Kissinger, Secretary of State at the NSA, and they also gave him the Nobel Peace Prize. Nice. Okay. Go to your city council. Even if it's a waste of time, go to your city council. Because when the smoke starts to clear, not that it's going to clear completely because we know the magnitude of what we're dealing with, but when it starts to clear and this comes out, go take some steps to help yourself. And I know that that's really difficult and they're going to make it really, really difficult, but at least try. Go to your city council. What would be great is if 10 of us or a lot of us went together all the time. All the time. All right. Hillary, the last mind bender. Because we're going to take this bitch down. We're lab rats. They feel we owe it to our leader, who is that. Apparently that's Satan, according to them. And one of our subscribers turned us on to a video yesterday. I liked it, so it's in my playlist there. You guys check it out, all right? The riots are being censored right now. And everyone, I really encourage you to watch this video. It's called World Coming Down, and it should be one of the first ones down there in my likes. Really encourage you to watch it. So, it's really important because we're on the cusp of the second and third stage of a new world order. We're just now leaving the middle stage, or entering the end of it, really. And that's internal warfare. And that's really what these videos are talking about and what they're trying to censor, so that, like everything else, so that nobody knows, in fact, what's going on here. And they do not. I just watched some really upsetting things by some people that I really look up to and respect politically, that have confirmed. Basically, if you're against this, you got a battle on your hands. You got a battle on your hands, or it's coming your way. So, I usually go back and forth, you know. I see my family being gang stalked, you know. I'm sure we all see that, and they're not aware of it. I go back and forth between that, if that's just supposed to irritate me, or if that's what's going to happen. Now, knowing my family so well, no. This morning, it's pretty clear to me that anybody who's against this eventually will be gang stalked. And that is horrifying. Horrifying. I would be okay with this just happening to me and everyone maybe never finding out about it and just like holding that bag, you know, because I know how terrible it is. And I don't want them to know. And I don't want them to experience this. But something just hit me like a brick this morning. Whoever isn't going to go along with this has a world of hurt coming their way. And it just makes me... Well, it doesn't make me anything. Unless I choose it to. But it is a little battle in itself. Things are not what they seem. And nobody has any idea. But it's only for right now, you guys. I don't know if that's comforting. I guess selfishly it's comforting, right? But at the same time, at what freaking cost? Well, we know the answer to that because we live it every day. So, okay, I want to talk about the setup of a stalking operation. Get the target in a location where all of the participating insiders will be around. Insiders pretend they don't know anything, or they bring along someone who doesn't know what's going on as a cover. I've seen this many times. It works very well. And it also causes you to question everybody around you. You know, it's also kind of like gaslighting, actually, on a different level. Different scale. It causes you to question everything because you know that person was not a stalker, but he was surrounded in the midst of so many. So when you do come across normal people, you're just all messed up inside, right? I know, I'm right there with you. That's what it's supposed to do. People also say that it is impossible to induce psychosis. You're wrong. You are absolutely wrong. This is not about trying to be right. It's just, you know, I saw a video with Dave Chappelle today. He said something really good. He said that the worst thing you can do is call somebody crazy. It's dismissive. And basically, a lot of times people say that because if they don't understand something, oh, I don't understand you. You're crazy. It's dismissive. Perp messes with target, starting a fight or argument. We all know that really well. They want you to go start shooting in the streets. So don't do that. Don't do that. Come spill your guts to me instead. And I will do the same. Others watch and act like witnesses, but they're actually just perps and they go and testify against you. This is very, 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 very popular. So you see how they have each angle of society? And this is also why you can't get people to believe you, because mental illness also looks like this. When people who are mentally ill, they're always debating that, you know, and coming up with reasons why, you know, it's like they make their illness foolproof. No, they've made the operation almost foolproof. And that is, in fact, what it is. So someone gets the person in charge and then blames the target. Very popular. Attempt to get you in trouble, like for stalking. They love to do that. Get the victim a couple stalking charges, you know, just because it's so aggravating. And I mean, it just discredits you ultimately and what you're trying to say. So perps watch and give each other approval when target is in and out of visual. Remember, anybody can be a TI. Well, we talked about that earlier. It turns out, due to a great deal of research, apparently this is stemming from some twisted Satanism on a massive scale. And again, hey, I'm not one to get into a Bible bash or make signs and stand on the street corner, discrediting myself in people's eyes. Not really, but in people's eyes, absolutely, because they're brainwashed. But unfortunately, and I'm not even, this doesn't even mean that Satanism exists because a lot of people are behind it that are very important and believe it does. That's why it exists. To me, in my opinion. I don't really know, but that's as far as I can go with it. I'm not saying there's more, I'm not saying there's less, I just don't know. And I'm not pretending to. I do know that it exists in this world on a massive level that people don't know about. So, okay, let's talk about statism. Okay, everyone calls us delusional. Dave Chappelle also said something, and I liked all of these videos by Dave Chappelle. Please go watch these. I'm sure you guys have seen them, but if you haven't, it really gives you perspective about what some of these celebrities are going through. And you can actually watch Dave Chappelle getting an interview by a perp and or Satanist. And it's just very, very interesting, you guys. And basically what he's talking about that at the end of that interview, at the end of the first part, it's a 2-part, it's really long, it is so worth it. Is statism. He doesn't say the word, unfortunately. I was dying when I was watching this. I wanted to, come on, Dave, call it what it is, you know? But he couldn't say too much, and we know why. And I'm sure he just took a hell of a beating for what he did say on there. But he has some really good points, you guys. Anybody that's on the front lines of this has a lot of hate coming their way. He's talking about getting out of the country, you know, that's a whole nother issue in itself. I could make a whole video around that. I don't think it's wise, but he did go into that. I don't know how realistic. I don't know. But basically what he's talking about in this video is stateism. Stateism is what they say it is, okay, is what people know it to be. Excuse me, not what they say it is, but what people know it to be is a political system in which the state has substantial centralized control over social and economic affairs. Okay, so it doesn't sound too bad, right? Well, you and I know what that really means. Stateism is a delusion. A lot of things, like remember when people were, I'm going to pull from Erwin Earhart quote, when people were burning witches, that was considered to be okay because it was done on a mass scale, and witches existed because people believed that they did on a large scale. There were witches. He says there are witches. Not really. It's a superstition. But if enough people believe in a superstition, it becomes real. Hence Satanism, hence statism, hence the New World Order. The best way to describe statism, this is a quote from a gentleman, a fellow TI, one of our fellow friends here on in our cyber community. He says, statism, an idea that is so good it's mandatory. Like the New World Order, guys. That's just one example. This is going on. This is a delusion that everybody is infected with in our country, and we are just waking up from it. And so they call us delusional, but they just don't know yet. It's just for right now. It really is. And I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm saying that I believe that to be the reality of it. And I'm with it. I mean, up here in the head. I'm with it. I have full knowledge of my program. I'm not sick. I'm very intelligent. You know, I'm sick just like you guys because of this program and what it has done to us. But this has done so much good for me. And I know that that is hard to hear, but this has done a lot of good for me. I don't live in a fairy tale land anymore. Yeah, I might live in a nightmare. But if that is the price of truth, then I accept that price. And I surrender to it. I don't give up, but I surrender that to those terms of life. I surrender to those terms of life, and I will live life on those terms, no matter what, and no matter how many other people don't. So statism, they make these ideas sound really good, like a fairy tale. Yeah, and they say we're delusional. So, okay, 600 prison camps in the United States are fully up and fully staffed. These are, quote, needed in case of martial law. That's a quote from Obama. And many have airports nearby. There are security around these for miles. Why is that necessary? Fill in the blank. Most hold approximately 20,000 people. These have sprung up within the past decade or so. And now they're finished. Just in time for the end of phase 2. Look at that. Okay, where are all the homeless? Everyone's talking about this. I have noticed this firsthand because I was homeless for a while. So I really got to know a part of the community out there on the East Coast. And I noticed some things going on the streets, and that's empty homeless carts. I don't know if they're being placed there or exactly what is going on, but I did surveillance one of them, and nobody ever came back to it, at least not a homeless person. Dude came back to it, but he was not homeless. So maybe I was supposed to see that because I was surveillancing at that time. I still am now. I just don't care if they know it or not. Or maybe I just got lucky. Who's to say? It doesn't matter anyway, but it's being reported now on YouTube and some pieces of the news are these empty streets, vans, and shopping carts that have been, they're saying they're abandoned. I think that they're probably there so that nobody notices just how many of our fellow human beings are gone. That's one possible theory. There could be a couple of different things going on with that. I think that it's probably likely that it's a piece of all of them. It's a little bit of all of that. Okay, so yeah, there's roughly 200,000 homeless missing. Yeah, so the homeless problem is due to these government assistance programs, these cutoffs of these programs. You'll have a cutoff after 1 or 2 years, even if you don't have the income to sustain your family, you're still cut off. So between that and the rising unemployment issue in our country, this has become a massive problem. And that's why the homeless is rising so much. And there is a big portion, you guys, the TI community is so much bigger than we know. But a portion of this homeless problem, as we know, is due to the gang stalking activity and a lot of us being forced into homelessness. Wealthy people, too. Wealthy people on the streets now because of this program. A lot of them. Excuse me. So you're not allowed to leave these camps unless you take their shuttle and you have an interview and an appointment to leave. Alright? Sounds pretty fishy. So basically they've made it illegal to be homeless. If they don't go to the camps, they get a fine or jail time. Basically the design for people, if you look at history, people get used to the idea of racism and slavery. It's an idea that people get used to slowly, an integration. Then pretty soon it'll appear normal to be using these camps, and they'll make it look like a safe haven. And a safe, retreat, should we need it. And they'll make it look like we need it. Maybe we've learned that lesson so many times. Alright, every time you get a threat, document it. Send that shit to someone so when and if they make good on that threat, you have a link. Document, document, document. There's a lot of question about this. Quit questioning it and start documenting it. Alright, if you have a video camera, that's great. Just be careful where you are pointing it. It's better to put it down and just deal with the harassment if there's any question that you might get in trouble for using that on a certain property. Because they will call the police, they will charge you with stalking. So, use it outside of the stores and things like that. Be very, very careful, even when you're using it in your backyard. If you have a child molesting campaign against you, you know they want you pointing that camera at some kids. You know that. Be aware at all times. Be aware of all of your surroundings while at the same time surveillancing them. It's a hell of a balancing task. You can do it. You're a TI. You can do things. Dude, you're like James Bond. You're a targeted individual. I know it's all woe is me and it's really difficult and lonely. Oh my God, it's so bad. But underneath, deep, deep, deep down, you're a ninja. You can take some shit. You really can. And when we come together, it's going to be something else. Especially me, because I'm just pissed. I'm just pissed at this point. I'm like my own walking army right now. But what goes up must come down. All right, be careful where you're pointing that camera. All right. So, but it can be a video either for yourself or that you might use later on down the line, document the date and time. I know that they mess with our mail, but you can also mail yourself things, get it notarized and mail it to yourself. That's a really good idea, and it's worth the painstake and the risk. Make a couple copies and mail it to yourself from a few different locations. Also, that's a really good thing to do just to piss them off and create a lot of work for them. Put a lot of shit in the mail. Okay, or don't. Or don't, you know, that's really a personal choice because sometimes, you know, that's a way that we get framed and it's just, it's such a bitch, this program. You're really caught between a rock and a hard place. So a lot of these decisions are personal choices that you have got to make on your own. And you've got to make them. And you have to be willing to fail. Or round and round we go. Send each of these tapes, if you can, to somebody. Mail them, right? And give names. Don't be afraid to do that. Give names. I know they give fake names, but every once in a while, the ones who are paid by the city, they give you real names. Or one of them. One of their names. One of their real names. Okay. Timing. You'll notice it takes a few minutes for these perps to show up once they have a visual on you. This leaves plenty of time, okay, to do something covertly yourself, in defense of yourself. Think about that, how you could do it, what that might look like. Get some ideas, even if they're just ideas. Let's start thinking about a different angle of this rather than how we're all just being affected by this. And I know that sounds harsh, but that's what it has got to come to. We've got to step out of this victimhood if we're going to get some balls and do something about this. And it's going to be so difficult. It's going to be messy and there's going to be a great deal of consequence. I'm not using statism here, you know, like, oh, power to the people. This is going to be, we're going to just love them up. No, these are Satanists. This is going to come with great consequence. It doesn't make it right to stay home. Sometimes the right thing is the hardest thing. You know, guys, it doesn't matter how sane you might sound. Excuse me. It really doesn't. As long as there's Wikipedia and people take that as the freaking word of God and Google. All the censoring, basically. And if you go down and you pick apart all of Wiki's references, go look at that. Go look at these references and go dig them apart. They all come from the censorship that I explained in the last video. It's quite shocking. So they say things like, you're ill, delusional, you need medication, try and force you out of your reality, I love you, but you need help. It's tough, right? It's tough, you guys, I know. Every time you express why you can't or won't seek help, they take it as a sign of not wanting to take responsibility. Or it's your illness, finding ways to believe that you're not sick. This does happen, but not on the scale that we have been led to believe. They can't possibly understand that you would rather actually be ill. Think about it. At least for me, it was like a good year of this hell and suspicion before I was even willing to entertain the idea that it was something other than something organic going on with me. Because it is so seemingly unbelievable and seemingly possible. It's just so seemingly impossible due to everyone's conditioning and false sense of reality that's been presented to us our whole lives. You can't sensitize a person from a conversation, just like they can't talk you out of your reality in a conversation. It's the language barrier. That's what keeps us alone. Get used to being alone for now. That doesn't mean get used to being alone and you don't have to do what it takes in order for us to come together. No. It means get used to being alone until we are a united force. The more efficient you are at being alone, the better chance you have of survival. While in that, you still have to find the balance to express yourself. That has got to occur. Express yourself in small doses, not large ones. We still have each other. Even though we can't talk to each other, we are still tied together and united. This program has taught us how little power language has and just how much power it can have. Look at that. Take it apart. Examine the heart of it and apply it to your survival. If they can have this much power through silence, then so can we. Don't forget this program was successful before they had the technology. We don't have to have all the tools, just the important ones and each other.